In light of the news that we already announced months ago, the breaking news with Naoya Inoue, where they have just confirmed that he will be fighting David Allen Picasso Romero in December and potentially Junto Nakatani at the top of 2026. Yeah, we talked about that months ago. Yeah, that's why you rock with this channel, because we be on time and on time. You know what I'm talking about? But in light of all that, right? Nick Ball has finally seemed to come to accept the new reality that he won't be getting Naoya Inoue, and according to him and his trainer, he will be pursuing unifications. Now, I know this is great news for the featherweight division because we need some unifications, but I also think this is good news for Nick Ball because he just saved himself an embarrassing ass whooping by a smaller guy in Naoya Inoue.
Hello guys, this is Rolly Romero.
Yo, my name is Nonito Donaire. What's up guys, Designer's Eyes.
We're here with Bob Santos Boxing.
And I rock with Dr. Boxing Talk.
I want to give a quick shout out to Dr. Boxing Talk.
And I want to give a big shout out to Dr. Boxing Talk. Thank you for all the love, thank you for all the support.
You're rocking with Dr. Boxing Talk. Get your daily news from my man right here, the best in the business. Let's get it, baby.
All day, baby.
Amen.
Bam!
If I tell you I'm good, probably you'll say I'm boasting. But if I tell you I'm no good, you know one line.
Yo, what's good, Boxing Talk family? Welcome back to your favorite boxing news channel, Dr. Boxing Talk. We are back for another YouTube video. Finger man, yes sir, yes ma'am. I know what time it is. Doctor's in the house, man, so check this out. But before we get to it, let's go ahead and smack that like button. Let's do it together. Appreciate you. That helps us keep going and growing on this YouTube platform, and it's free. So get it popping with them thumbs and the index finger, or whatever you use to hit that clicker. Go ahead and get it popping and smack that like button for your boy. But let's get right to it, right? And so the news is something that we already released. We talked about this months ago, but it has been confirmed that Naoya Inoue will stay at the 122-pound division, super bantamweight, when he goes on in December to fight his WBC #1 ranked challenger in David Allen Picasso Romero, right? And then on the undercard will be Junto Nakatani making his debut at 122 super bantamweight division. And why that's important is because that, assuming that Inoue is victorious and Junto Nakatani is victorious against Sebastian Hernandez, then they will proceed at the top of the year 2026 to fight each other for the all Japanese showdown at the super bantamweight division. So that means that for the foreseeable future, Naoya Inoue will not be going to 126, where the WBA champion Nick Ball resides, right? And I know that this is kind of unfortunate news for Team Nick Ball because he's been desperately chasing Naoya Inoue, at 126, and his MO, right? He likes to fight guys that are at from 122. That's what he's been doing recently. So I know that he's not too happy, but I'm gonna be honest, right? Everybody wants to fight Naoya Inoue, I'll say from 126 and below, because he is the money man at that division, just like everybody from, I would say, 130 to 140, 147 wants to fight Gervonta Tank Davis because he's the money man. Of course, from up there, above that is to, I'll say, all the way to 175 is Saul Canelo Alvarez. Then above that, AJ's the money man, right? So I understand when people want to pursue the most lucrative fight they can, because it is prize fighting, by the way, but at the end of the day, though, we still should also want to go for legacy as well. You don't always have to separate the two. I think the featherweight division is full of great champions. It's actually awesome, right? So it's nice if they would fight each other for unifications. And I've been saying that I think Nick Ball is kind of holding it up. Not just saying it's only him, but I think that is his pursuit of Naoya Inoue is kind of setting up a roadblock, And now, according to his trainer, Nick Ball's trainer, Paul Stevenson, he said, hey man, we're ready to look past that. In fact, we want to target not just unifications, but specifically the IBF champion, Angelo Leo. And I think this is fire because I think that fight is great. I think all the champions are great, right? The WBC champions is Stephen Fulton. WBO champions, Rafael Espinosa. IBF is Angelo Leo. WBA is Nick Ball, right? So any one of them fighting is great to me. I personally believe that Rafael El Divino Espinosa is the best. If I had to pick one to become undisputed at 126, it would be him. But I think all the fights are great, right? So, then if you read on further after Paul Stevenson, like I said, Nick Ball's trainer, when he was speaking with The Ring, he proceeds to say, yeah, we want to pursue unifications, and Nick Ball has been doing the most. And of course, that's your guy. You're going to say that. But then he says, check box rec. Are you sure you want me to check box rec?
Yeah.
You really sure you want me to check box rec?
Yeah.
Okay, you got it. I'm just following instructions. Let's check box rec. Let's start off with the other champions. Let's go to Rafael Espinosa, the WBO champion. Look at this here. Rafael Espinosa, his last two fights was one against Edward Vasquez, and before that was against Robeisy Ramirez. And let's not forget, Nick Ball's trainer said this to say that their opponents have been mediocre.
Yeah.
Well, both of his opponents are legitimate 126-pound fighters.
Yeah.
So, and I would argue that not only would Edward Vasquez pose a big threat to Nick Ball, I think that's a great fight. I don't know who would win. I think that's 50-50. But it's not like it'll be a walk in the park for Nick Ball. And then I would even say Robeisy Ramirez, who Espinosa fought before that, I would put my money on Robeisy to beat Nick Ball.
Yeah.
So is it really that easy, right? Now let's go to another champion, the WBC champion, Stephen Fulton, right? Let's check out his last 2 fights. So he fought Carlos Castro at his debut at 126. I think that would be a tough fight for Nick Ball. No matter how you kick it, you know, maybe it's 50-50 or whatever, but it's not like, oh, that's a walk in the park for Nick Ball. And then the other opponent was a rematch with Brandon Figueroa. That's how Stephen Fulton became the WBC champion, by beating Brandon Figueroa again, right?
Yeah.
If Brandon Figueroa fought Nick Ball, I would put my money on Brandon Figueroa. And then not to mention that Stephen Fulton, his next fight, he's moving up to 130 to challenge Oshiki Foster for his WBC belt as well. So that's not, those fights aren't walk in the park. So I don't know what Nick Ball's trainer is talking about. And then, so let's move on to the IBF champion, which would be Angelo Leo, who they said that they're going to target, right? Well, his 2 fights ago, he fought Luis Venado Lopez, who was the champion, the IBF champion. That's how Angelo Leo acquired the belt. Lopez versus Ball, I think a lot of people will lean towards Lopez, but if you want to say it's 50-50, okay. But that's not like a walk in the park again for Nick Ball. I would lean towards Venado Lopez once again. And then not to mention, his last opponent was Tomoki Kamada, which was the IBF mandatory. So that, again, that wasn't just some easy fight, right? And I also think that would be a 50-50 fight with Nick Ball as well. So all the guys that the other champions fought, I wouldn't favor Nick Ball over any of them. In fact, I would favor the other guy over Nick Ball for the majority of them, right? So I don't know where this guy's coming up with. He told us to look at BoxRec. I don't know why he would tell us that. I guess he's high off his own supply.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Because I don't even know why you would advocate for somebody to do that, because you just exposed yourself. Because you know why? The WBA champion, Nick Ball, let's check out his last 2 opponents. Yeah, that would be Sam Goodman and TJ Doheny. What do they both have in common? They both made their debut at 126 when he fought them. They were coming from 122. Sam Goodman was just fighting at 126 against Nick Ball. And then TJ Doheny was coming from 122. Matter of fact, he was coming off of a stoppage loss against Naoya Inoue. Right? So I'm not saying that Sam Goodman is not big enough to be at 126, because he has fought at 126 before, but he hasn't been there for a while. He was situated at 122. So I could argue that Nick Ball has literally had the weakest opposition out of all the champions at 126. So I don't know what the heck Nick Ball's coach is talking about. I think that, like I said, he must have been high of his own supply, because I don't know if he really wanted us to really check BoxRec. I mean, even though I knew this because I watched all of these fights, that's how I'm comfortable in making my assessment whether or not Nick Ball would beat these guys or not. I think he was just trying to see if you would actually call his bluff. But over here, we go with the truth, and we're actually going to call your bluff. So Nick Ball, not even arguably, he's definitively had the weakest opposition out of the last 2 fights out of all the champions at 126. So I don't know what he's talking about, but I will say this though. Forget all that. That's forgiven if you actually pursue Angelo Leo, because I think that'd be dope to have a unification fight. And if you don't have a unification fight, give Bruce Shushu Carrington a chance. I love that fight too. So I think that for the betterment of the 126-pound division, it is great news that Nick Ball is no longer pursuing Naoya Inoue. And I think for Nick Ball's career, if he wants to take boxing seriously, I think that it's also, you know, good news, because I think that he would have lost to Naoya Inoue anyway. And I'm not saying, like I said, I think that now, I don't think Nick Ball, I wouldn't favor Nick Ball over any of the other champions, but some of those champions are 50-50. Like, I think Angelo Leo and Nick Ball is a good fight. I would lean towards Angelo Leo slightly, but Nick Ball could win that. You know, I don't think he comes close to Rafael Espinosa. Stephen Fulton, I think, would also beat him. But, you know, the point is, what I'm saying is that Nick Ball losing to those guys are cool, because they're champions from his division. If he fought Naoya Inoue, I think he would have been lost, and he would have been known as a guy who didn't want to fight guys in his actual division. Because even before that, with Ronnie Rios was a guy that was fighting at 122 quite a bit before he fought Nick Ball. You know what I'm saying? When he fought Nick Ball, that was only a second fight at 126, but he was on like a 5 or 6 fight streak at 122. So you could even consider Ronnie Rios as moving up. You see what I'm saying? So Nick Ball has been on a little ugly streak of fighting guys that are smaller than him, and that's hard to do because he's small as hell. You know what I'm talking about? He's minuscule. You know what I'm saying? But I'm talking about small as far as division, not small as stature, right? He's been fighting guys and bringing them up, right? You know what I'm saying? So I don't even know why Paul Stevenson went there, but I do like the fact that he's pursuing unifications. If it's true, I believe it when I see it, and I won't hold my breath. But y'all let me know what y'all think about that, man. Like I said, I'm glad that Nick Ball's no longer pursuing him. I'm glad. Naoya Inoue, I'm glad that the 126 pounders will actually fight each other. I think that's dope. But if I had to pick who's the best, I would go Rafael Espinosa. But I definitely disagree wholeheartedly and emphatically with Paul Stevenson, who's Nick Ball's trainer, that Nick Ball has had the best opposition lately. No, he might have been the most active, but let's not confuse quantity with quality. Let's be real. I appreciate y'all rocking with me as always. Don't forget to smack that like button, but most importantly, remember, with God, we can do anything. Without God, we're nothing. The doctor's out. Peace. From the hood to college, both worlds they had to meet. 6 degrees between us, so cold we're about to freeze. But we're Florida boys, hot takes, we bring the heat. We're moving the culture, the engineers to the streets.